video, we're going to find the inverse trigonometric functions. We're going to use them to find the exact values. Okay, so these are the instructions. Find each of the following exactly in radians and degrees. Obviously, I chose one of each. Okay, it's just good to know how to do all of them. But we do need these two pieces of information. We need the range of the trigonometric function, and we need our unit circle. Okay, so let's start with the first one. Sine inverse of negative square root of 3 over 2. Well, what is sine? Sine in the unit circle is the y coordinate. Okay, so we're looking for the y coordinate that is negative radical 3 over 2. Now there's one here and there's one here. So which one what angle should we use? Well, we have to look for the range of sine inverse. It says that the range is negative pi over 2 and pi over 2. Therefore, we cannot use these angles here. We cannot use 4 pi over 3 or 5 pi over 3. Okay? We have to use the negative angles. Now, if I were to come from 0 clockwise direction, this is when it starts getting negative, right? The angles start getting negative. So I will still land here, but instead of 5 pi over 3, my angle is going to be negative pi over 3. And in degrees will be negative 60 degrees. Okay? So that's the value for the first one. Negative pi over 3 or negative 60 degrees. Okay? Now it's very important that you write it like this, right? Because the range of sine inverse is between negative pi over 2 and pi over 2. If you get out of the range, then it's going to be undefined. Okay? Now, let's do the same thing for cosine inverse of 1/2. Well, what's the range of cosine inverse? It's from 0 to pi. So whatever x coordinate has 1/2, it has to be inside that range. Now, as you can see, we have it here, and we also have it here. But this quadrant is not part of the range, only the first one. So the answer is going to be pi over 3 and 60. Okay. Now secant inverse. Similar to cosine, secant inverse has a range. It's going to be from 0 to pi over 2, not including pi over 2, union pi over 2 to pi. Okay. Now the question is, where is secant inverse square root of 2? Well, secant is also the x coordinate of the unit circle, but in its reciprocal. So square root of 2, what is the reciprocal of square root of 2? Well, it's 1 over square root of 2, which if we rationalize gives you radical 2 over 2. So that will be the reciprocal of square root of 2, which is going to be this value right here. Okay, so secant inverse of square root of 2 is going to be pi over 4 or 45 degrees. Now, cosecant inverse of 2. Well, what's the reciprocal of cosecant inverse? It's sine, right? So the reciprocal of 2 is 1/2. So where is sine equal to 1/2? Well, here. Okay. Which is going to be pi over 6 or 30 degrees. Tangent inverse of 1. Now, tangent inverse of 1, where is tangent of an angle equal to 1? Well, when both x and y are the same and they're both positive. Now tangent also has a range. The range of tangent is going to be from negative pi over 2 to pi over 2, not including the endpoints. So it's very similar to memorize with sine inverse. Okay, so again, it's in the first and fourth quadrant by going in the negative angles. Now, since it's positive, tangent inverse of negative 1, tangent inverse of 1 is going to be pi over 4 or 45 degrees. Now, cosine inverse of negative radical 3 over 3. Remember, to get negative radical 3 over 3, you will have to divide radical 3 over 2 and 1/2, or actually no, 1/2 divided by radical 3 over 2, or both being negatives. One of them being positive and the other one being negative, my bad. Now, what's the range of cosine inverse? The range of cosine inverse is from 0 to pi, very similar to the range of cosine inverse. Okay, so from 0 to pi, you're only going to use the first and second quadrant. So where does that happen? Where do we have 1 over 2 divided by radical 3 over 2? Well, cotangent inverse is x over y. That means we need to find where x is 1/2 and y is radical 3 over 2. And that's at 2 pi over 3 or 120 degrees. So this one becomes 2 pi over 3 or 120 degrees. Now, as you can tell already, it's pretty overwhelming. It's a lot of information you have to consider. So I suggest you watch it again and try to understand where am I getting all these values from. Okay. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below or ask me in class. Thank you.